Good morning. Hi, I'm Madeleine from Slings, and I'm going live this Friday morning to do my Frequently Asked Friday. And this week it is, what do you do if you see someone carrying badly? Now, this question is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I get asked it all the time, and I put up about what people wanted me to do on these lives, and this was a question I got. And it is, as I said, a bit out of my comfort zone, but you guys really challenged me because so many of you asked for it. And when I said I was doing it, so many people said they wanted to think about this and hear about this. So I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone to talk about, what do you do if you see someone carrying badly? So this was the question as it was phrased. The first thing I want to talk about is this idea of badly. What does that mean? I passionately don't believe that good, bad, right, wrong come into carrying. Okay, carrying is evolutionary expected. Our babies are designed to be carried. They are clinging youth. We have been carrying our babies since there have been Homo sapiens. So this idea of good and bad carrying makes me feel incredibly uneasy in the first place. So what do I think you guys mean when you say carrying badly? Well, when I'm looking at carrying, I really only judge it in three ways. I don't look at good, bad. I don't look at all these rules you find on the internet. You find so many rules on the internet, don't you? Babies should be at this height or that height or M shape or C shape because they're auditioning for the Sesame Street. I don't like any of that. What I look at is the carry safe? Is it comfortable? Is it fit for purpose? And there was a really good picture a few years ago of Boris Johnson carrying his son, and there was so much uproar in the sort of baby wearing world of him carrying badly because it was very low. And I was like, but why? He's carrying his child, which is fabulous. I mean, whatever you think of Boris Johnson, I don't think much of him. But, you know, he's carrying his child and he was going on a lovely walk with his child. That's great. Was the carry fit for purpose? Well, he went on his walk. So, yeah. Was it safe? Undoubtedly. That child was in no danger of falling. Their airway was protected. Was it comfortable? Well, I can't climb into Boris Johnson's body and answer that. But it didn't look comfortable. It looked like it could easily be made more comfortable. But does that matter? And, you know, is it worth discouraging him or other families who might be experiencing the carry the same way by calling them out on that? Or is it better to gently say, oh, you know, it could be made more comfortable. It can be more comfortable if you adjust it. So yeah, this idea of bad. Well, when I'm talking about what we could do if we see someone carrying in a less optimal way, I'm not going to be. I'm thinking about specifically, is that carry safe and is it comfortable? And I think it's key to like really differentiate those two things. Is it safe? Is it comfortable? Because obviously safety is more important, more paramount than comfort. And when we're talking about risking going up to somebody and risking potentially offending them or potentially seeming, you know, and talking to somebody, which puts them in a vulnerable position, also puts you in a vulnerable position, it's worth thinking about whether, you know, are you doing this over a safety issue, or are you thinking about this over a safety issue, or are you thinking about this over a comfort issue? Because, you know, comfort, I mean, the big reason I do this is I want everyone to be comfortable, but I also want them to carry. And I don't want to risk putting somebody off carrying just over something that's a matter of just a little bit of extra comfort. The other thing I wanted to talk before I get into what you can do first properly. The other thing I want to talk about was so many of the people that contacted me. They said, because I've seen somebody carrying in X way or Y way, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. And let's pause a moment to examine this feeling of you feeling uncomfortable. I totally get that when because everybody who contacted me were people who loved carrying, who carrying had made a difference to their lives, and, you know, it has been really important and great for them, and then they want to share that great experience, and they want other people to feel and get those benefits that they did. And so I totally get that. But it is your feeling of uncomfort. So when you want to talk to somebody, are you doing it for them, or are you doing it for you? Are you doing it to validate your choices and validate the things you like? And this is sort of a really interesting thing for me to think about too, because obviously I have a vested interest, and if I went and spoke to people, would I be doing it for them, or would I be doing it to promote my own business, or to validate my choices, or to validate my things? And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, because their feelings when you talk to them might not be, they might not realise where you're coming from. So I'm going to tell you a story, and this is something that happened to me when my son was 2. So when my son was 2, I was in Kew Gardens, wearing him in a Manduka carrier. Now, at the time, I ran the NCT Kensington and Chelsea Sling Library, and I was trained as a peer supporter. But I had booked my consultancy for the next week, and I was so excited about learning about training to become a consultant and getting deeper into the world and deeper into understanding. And anyway, so my son was asleep on my back in Kew Gardens, and I saw another parent carrying. And she had an older child than me, and she was in this carrier I'd never seen before. And as I said, I ran a sling library, and I'd never seen this carrier, and I was really interested about it. And she was carrying really well, I should say, her chatting to her daughter on her back. And I was really interested to go and speak to this parent with an older child with this beautiful carrier and ask about it. And I was plucking up the courage, because I find it really hard to talk to strangers, or certainly, unsolicitedly talk to strangers. So I was plucking up the courage, and then I could see her looking at me, and then she came over to me. And I was like, great, I'll get to ask her my question. And she said, did you know that your carrier has a hood, so your baby doesn't have to sleep like that with her head all wonky? Gosh, I was so excited to talk to this person. Now I feel crushed. I'm doing it wrong. No, but I'm not doing it wrong. I know I'm not doing it wrong. I run a library. So now I feel indignance. So firstly, I feel crushed and embarrassed, and then I feel indignance. I feel anger, and I go. So my face must have been so shocked, and I went, yes, I do know my carrier has a hood. I also know that the moment I put it up, my son will wake up. I know that he is comfortable because he always sleeps like that, and I know that the first few times I tried putting the hood up, it always woke him up and made him in tears. So I choose to leave him like that because he is safe and he is comfortable. And this lady went, oh, I'm really sorry, I did not mean to blurt it out like that. It's just I'm a carrying consultant, and a lot of people don't realise there's a hood. And I went, oh, I'm actually training as a carrying consultant next week. And I'm thinking in my head, and I would never go up to anyone like this. I'm not even trained yet, and I would never go up to anyone like this and make them feel so small and so bad. And actually, we ended up having a lovely conversation, and I got to find out what carrier they had, and they were very apologetic. And then I almost felt bad for them being very apologetic. And it was that thing that she'd felt uncomfortable seeing my baby's head at a funny angle, and she'd wanted to help. But the way she'd helped hadn't been helpful, because it made me feel defensive. My shackles went up, and only because I'd wanted to talk to her anyway, and only because I'm, trained in these things and want to so forth, that I actually was able to carry on that conversation. We were able to have a conversation afterwards. If I hadn't been in that position, if I'd been a new parent, I probably would have gone home and sobbed and felt nervous about being seen in public again. In the carrier, and felt nervous about the sling police coming after me. So I do think when we are talking about what do we do if we're seeing someone carrying badly, we do need to be careful, because it's so easy to engage somebody's defensive response. And as soon as you engage someone's defensive response, probably completely unintendedly, you've lost them. As soon as they feel defensive, it's hard for them to learn, hard for them to take on new information. And this is something that the biggest thing that when training and learning and becoming teaching parents, I've learned that in order for people to enjoy carrying and to learn and gain the most out of it, they need to feel safe and they need to feel accepted. And as soon as they feel defensive, you can't learn. And this is something I was having consults when people are worried and they're stressed And I think it's really hard to get the carrier on, and the baby is crying because they hear their thing and they're stressed. And a big part of what I do when I work with parents is just helping them feel calm and confident, because baby brain's great. So what can we do? What can we do if we want to talk to somebody? Well, I think on the most part, I don't talk to people. So if I see carrying that is uncomfortable, I don't say anything. What I do is work 10 times harder on the internet and on my blog and for my service, so that people are aware of what good carrying looks like. And I work really hard with my clients, and I'm really lucky. I rely on them to sort of spread the word and so forth. I work 10 times harder on making comfortable carrying more seen, because often when people are carrying in an uncomfortable way, it's because they don't know how it could be more comfortable. And that often a lot of the images shown don't show the most comfortable way, or don't talk about comfort. And what do I do when it's unsafe? Well, again, it really depends. Do I know that person? Am I in a position to talk to them? I actually saw someone carrying in a way that was really quite unsafe the other day, but we were at the level crossing and I was cycling my bike, and the barriers were starting to come down. I'm not going to stop on a level crossing. I've got to go through. And this person was walking in the other direction. It's not safe for me to talk to them about their carrying. And, and certainly not in a way that isn't just going to blurt it out and engage the defensiveness. So I think there's a lot of reasons. And I think then it comes back to that uncomfort. People say, oh, it was unsafe and I didn't say anything. What if something happened? I feel uncomfortable. Well, it's not your responsibility. It's ultimately parents' responsibility to make sure their baby is safe, and absolve yourself of that. Should I have stopped on a level crossing? No, I shouldn't have stopped on a level crossing. So it's perfectly fine that if the answer to what should you do if you see someone carrying badly is nothing, but if you want to, how might you do it? Well, there is a big difference between someone you know and someone you don't know. Obviously, someone you know, it's easier to talk to them. It's easier to be talking to them about other stuff and then say, hey, are you feeling comfortable? How are you finding the carrier? It's lovely to see you using your carrier. It's lovely to see, baby looks cozy. Always, if you can, start with compliment. And then the thing that's worrying you, the thing that you're worried about the comfort or whatever, start it as a question. Don't tell a parent something, ever. Don't tell a parent. Just ask it as a question. Do you feel comfortable? So I have an example. I had a really good friend who I helped her choose her carrier originally, and then we were walking. I think it was about a year later after she had the carrier, and she put on her carrier very quickly and then got walking. And I went, oh, do you need time to adjust? And she went, no, I'm good. And I went, oh, are you comfortable? And she went, yes, yeah, I'm comfortable. Why does it not look comfortable? And I went, well, I just wonder if we could tweak it a bit and you'd be more comfortable, but I can adjust it if you want me to, and I can put it right back if it doesn't make it, if I make anything worse. And she went, oh yeah, sure, give it a go. And so I adjusted, and she went, oh, I thought I was comfortable, but actually I realised now I wasn't. I just assumed that my baby was heavier now and that it was supposed to feel like that. Now you've adjusted it, it feels really weightless. And I was like, great. And then we talked through what I'd done, and that was brilliant. And so I think it's much easier with someone you know, because it's much easier to know how they're going to respond and to do it in a friendly way. If someone you don't know, you don't have that credence, you don't have that allowance. Like probably my friend would have not reacted in the same way if someone she didn't know wanted to adjust her carrier. So someone you don't know, well, again, this is out of my comfort zone. By and large, I wouldn't talk to somebody. I wouldn't, and particularly not over comfort. I wouldn't, because I don't know why they're carrying like that, And I think this is another important story. Another important story to tell you is I have a friend whose little one has scoliosis, and she was advised by her doctor to carry forward facing, like so. And actually, so I helped her, I worked with her. She'd had a carrier with her older child, and it didn't offer forward facing, so I worked with her to find a carrier that offered forward facing. And the reason for this, the suggestion of the doctor, was that it encouraged the child to turn on their weaker side, so encouraged to strengthen the muscles against the bend on the scoliosis. So I helped her find a carrier that was safe and comfortable for her to forward facing. And then a few weeks later, she got stopped in the street by someone to tell her that forward facing her baby was dangerous. And that she shouldn't do it. And again, she then felt that sense of righteous anger. Like, I've been told by a doctor to do this. And the person that was talking to her was like, well, I've been told this and that and that. And it's like, but, and again, came from a place of love, but didn't understand that actually in this case, this baby has scoliosis. And it's recommended by her medical professionals to help with her scoliosis, and it is being done in a safe way and a respectful way in short bursts that at a time when she's awake. So it is, and so I think it is important. I think when it's someone you don't know the reasons. There are many, many reasons. It's the same as I know of clients who have been stopped for about like the M shape or whatever, and for many babies this is correct. This is the ideal shape, but some babies and some reasons there might be for putting baby in a different shape. Maybe they've had surgery and they can't go tummy to tummy. Maybe they have low tone, or maybe they have hyperextension. So for some babies, this spread squat position isn't recommended just because their legs can be prone to being hyperextended, and then we will look at a different position. So again, when it comes to a stranger, you don't know why they're carrying like that. So it's difficult to go. And so certainly if you did want to talk to somebody, I wouldn't start off by saying it should, or did you know, or you could carry like this. I would start with a question like, oh, it's lovely to see you. Can I ask more about it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you can say, oh, well, this is the thing, if you wanted to. But yeah, so mostly I don't. I don't because I don't know, and I don't because I don't want to put people off, and I don't want to engage this stuff. There are 2 times I have spoken to strangers, and I wanted to share them with you in case it's helpful. So one of the times I spoke to a stranger was actually, I was walking down the high street and I could see a mum helping the dad who was carrying twins, and the dad was clearly uncomfortable, and they were trying to change the carrier, trying to tweak the carrier. They had a WeGo, and they were trying to change the carrier in the middle of the street, and they were backing and forthing. And in that case, because there was clear signals that they were uncomfortable, I said, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I couldn't help overhearing. I actually run a local sling library. I can see that you're uncomfortable in trying to adjust the carrier. Would you like me to help? And they looked really grateful and went, oh my God, what great luck. Please do help us. And then I helped them. But obviously that's extremely unlikely that you'd see somebody in that position. But because I felt able to talk to them because you could see they were clearly indicating uncomfort and a desire to learn. Another time was I was running, volunteering running, and this was many, many years ago, an NCT, nearly new sale. And there was a lady walking around, and I could see the carrier was cutting into her neck, and it looked really painful. And she was walking around. But again, I don't want to upset anyone and say anything. But then she came over to the stall. I was running the cake stall and was chatting a little bit, and she was chatting anyway. So she started a conversation, blah 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 blah, and I was saying, oh, baby looks sound asleep, comfortable. And she said, yeah, I love the carrier, etc., etc. And I said, and how do you find it? Are you comfortable? She said, well, mostly, but it's really cutting into my neck. And I was like, okay, would you like us to look at it? Would you like us to see if we can get it to not cut into your neck? And then she was really grateful. So I think, yeah, my big thing is if you do want to talk to somebody, try and engage it as a question, try and let it come from them if you can, but also don't worry if you can't. So another question that came up in the comments when I was saying I was running this was about, even like talking to friends and feeling like you don't know enough. Well, the big thing I would say is, one of the easiest sort of things to say if you see somebody and or it's a friend and you're a bit worried it's not ideal, but you don't want to offend them and you don't want to set yourself up as knowing more than them or whatever, it's just a signpost to your local Sling library, signpost to places you found helpful. So many people, I feel really blessed about this, many people have commented, they're saying they share my videos all the time. Please do. Share your local Sling libraries, please signpost. I mean, that is a really non-confrontational way of talking to someone. If you're worried about how they're carrying, is to just say, oh, I learnt loads from here, you might find it helpful. And then you're not sort of saying, oh, I think you're carrying badly, I think you could be more comfortable. You're saying, oh, you could learn more if you want to, and you're putting that onus on them. And that's very much where I'm from. I like putting out all this content, and then if people find it helpful and want help, they can contact me, and then that puts the responsibility of me talking to them and initiating it away, and then I can just work with people who want to learn and want to know more from me, which is great. So yeah, I've lost track of where I am. Yeah, so that's one way you can do it. You can say, hey, about Sling libraries, consultants. Yeah, and just phrase it more as a friendly chat, I think, rather than this. I think sometimes we can feel very pressured to talk to somebody for a social responsibility, but ultimately they may or may not do it. So yes, the final thing I want to talk about, I did have a related question from someone saying, but what if you've spoken to someone and they don't want to go to the Sling library, or they can't afford to go to a Sling library? Well, again, this is two separate things. Don't want to, well, they don't want to. That's fine, I know it will probably help. It will probably help, but if they don't want to, they don't want to. I remember I've had one across the last 7 years of being a consultant. I've had one consult where somebody came for a consult and it became clear they didn't want to carry. They'd booked into this consult because everybody had told them carrying was amazing and that it would help them so much and they really should do it, but they didn't want to. And so we had this consult, and they said, they just kept saying, oh, so-and-so said that they've used this, and so-and-so said that I would find this helpful, and that blah, 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 blah. And I said, but, so we tried a couple of things, and she was like, I don't like this, I feel so forth, it doesn't feel right, this isn't fitting me, so I'd get something else out. And I said, well, you told me what your friends use. What do you and what your friends find helpful? What do you want out of it? Well, I don't really. She said, I'm happy putting my baby down. And I don't want to do that. And I went, okay. And I don't think any of these things fit me. I don't think these things we've tried fit me. And I think actually, I think several of them could fit you if you want to. But it sounds like you don't want to. And she said, well, no, I don't want to. I like doing this. And I said, do that then, it's fine. She said, but aren't you you're like the carrying expert, and she said, are you saying these things don't work for me? And I said, I think a lot of them could work for you, but you don't have to use any of them. And I think, and she sort of, you could see really break into a smile, and really that was what she wanted. And this is the only time it's ever happened to me, that realization. What she wanted was to be able to say, I saw the expert and they said that it didn't work for me. It isn't for me. She wanted permission not to carry. So I think if someone says they don't want to go to a Sling library, they don't want to go to a Sling library. That's fine. Can't afford to is a different question, and that is something I'd very much like to help with, and I think most Sling librarians would like to help with, and many will. So I can't speak for all Sling libraries because I run my own. We all run slightly differently. We're all run by different people. So for my library, a lot of my services are paid for because, I have to pay for my time, my training, my insurance, blah, 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 blah. But I do run free services. So I run 2 completely free Sling clinics at 2 local children's centres a month. And they run entirely for free. Many people do choose to donate, which is fab, and that keeps it running. But there is absolutely no payment expected or asked for, or any pressure to pay at any stage. You can come for complete free and get help. So can't afford to, at least in my area, in my library, there is a way. For people who aren't near me and stuff, my DMs are always open. I will always answer questions to anyone who can't afford to. And sometimes people say they can't afford to as a way of not explaining that they don't want to. And so if it's a case of they're saying I can't afford to because they're saying I don't want to, well then that's also fine. They don't want to. That I defer to my earlier answer. But can't afford to, I think many of us do have free or incredibly low cost things, because I passionately believe, and I know many of my other Sling Library colleagues out there across the country passionately believe, that it shouldn't be determined on whether or not you can afford to pay. So there's usually some services available that are very low cost or completely free. So that brings me to the end. I hope that was helpful. It was probably very long and rambling. I hope it's helpful. The last thing I want to say is that please, please, please do share your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. That I think it's one of these conversations that we should be having, even though it makes me feel uncomfortable, so that we can all learn from it and understand. So please do comment your experiences, your thoughts below, and do like and share this as needed. Thank you and goodbye.